we have a great schedule. I'm fired up about it, but I need to ask you, Rodney, what is the one game on our schedule that you can't wait to see?
Well, it has to be, I think it has to start in week one. It's the Rams versus the Lions. And when you look at the Rams and what they've been able to do this offseason, they really put a focus and emphasis on the defensive side of the ball. Aaron Donald, he retired. You still have Kobe Turner, who was outstanding last year. He had 9 sacks. They drafted Braden Fisk. They went out and drafted Jared Verse. They went out and got a big run stopper in Tyler Davis. I mean, I just thought I love the way they really put attention on the defensive side of the ball where they were really weak at, Coach.
And, we were there when Detroit knocked the Rams out of the playoffs last year. And so when that happens to you, you always have that sense that I want to get back at that team. I'd love to play them week one. And that's the way it's set up.
Absolutely. And you get to a point, too, where you start to look and say, you know what? We can beat this team. We can beat this team. And, you add a couple pieces on the defensive side of the ball. Like I said, emphasis on the defensive line, especially when Aaron Donald retired.
Well, speaking of you saying we can beat this team, we can beat this team, I was looking at opening night, Kansas City and Baltimore. And Baltimore has had their hands full with the Chiefs for a couple of years now in the playoffs. And they've got to say, this is a target game for us. And you know what it reminds me of? When we used to go against you guys, and I was with Indianapolis, you were with New England, you were beating us in the playoffs. And now we got to go up there and somehow we got to win this game so we can get the game at home. If we lose opening night, we're going to be chasing you guys all year. And that's how Baltimore has to approach this game, I think.
Absolutely. And for me, all eyes will be on offensive coordinator Todd Monken. I know that Lamar was the MVP and he wanted in the playoffs to have the emphasis and focus on Lamar. But at the end of the day, you brought in Derrick Henry for a reason. He's going to be your main cow. You got to run this guy. You didn't do it in the playoff. He didn't run the football in the playoffs. You go out and you get Derrick Henry, and maybe he's the missing piece. I believe he's the missing piece to their offense that gets them over the hump. And of course, they have to do a couple things with that offensive line.
Yeah, you're right. Control the line of scrimmage, control the time of possession, keep the ball away from Mahomes, and play Ravens football. Don't get into a throwing, scoring up and down with the Chiefs. They're going to have some new receivers, and they're going to have some things they've got to work with. And you got to pound that ball at Kansas City, and I'm sure that's what Baltimore is going to be thinking.
And, Coach, I got to give props to the Chiefs because I know for the last 2 or 3 years, you've been kind of questioning how good their defense is and kind of been up and down. And I think that's been one of the mainstays, one of the most impressive things about the Chiefs is how well their defense is played. And even at times when they kind of get relaxed and they get a little lazy, they still come back and they know how to turn it off and turn it on. And that's due to their defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, who I think is probably the best in the NFL.
So underrated, and he did it in the playoffs for them when they had to go on the road and win those tight, low-scoring games when the offense wasn't putting up 30 points. They did it, and you got to give him credit. I agree. Well, Rodney, there's one more game I've got my eye on in this our schedule, and that is Week 13, San Francisco at Buffalo. Because to me, this is going to be two really, really good teams that we think are going to be there at the end, playing each other. It's not the AFC versus AFC. And I mean, it's the same thing we saw last year. San Francisco was kind of dominating things. And then Baltimore went in there and took it to them. And we said, whoa. Well, I think San Francisco is going to have a chance to make a statement going into Buffalo late in the year with two teams that really have a lot riding on it.
Yeah, I got a chance to see Kyle Shanahan down at the roast and just talk to him. And, I really feel bad for him because he's a really outstanding young coach. And it just seems like time and time they get so close and they just keep coming up short. But I believe that Kyle, this could be potentially the year. I think Brock Purdy, another year in the system, add some pieces on the defensive side of the ball. You get some guys healthy in the secondary. I think this could potentially be the year that they take it to that next level. One game that really intrigues me is the game the following week, Week 14. I think it said Kansas City versus the Chargers. And this is why I wanted Coach Harbaugh so bad for the Chargers. I think he's going to push Justin Herbert. I think he's going to elevate him and challenge him and take him to the next level. But I also think he's going to get that physicality back into the Chargers. The Chargers, they couldn't win and go far in the playoffs because they were a soft, mentally soft team. With Harbaugh in there, they're going to have two of the best offensive tackles in all of football. They're going to run the football down your throat, and they got some big play receivers. Ladd McConkey, he's going to be a good player for them in the slot.
I was going to ask you, do you think Coach Harbaugh was making a statement when he picked Joe Alt with his first pick, an offensive tackle, and saying, you know what, this is what we're going to be all about?
Absolutely, Coach. And what made you guys at Indianapolis so tough was the fact that if we kept two safeties deep, you could run the ball. You had the ability with the Hall of Famer to run the ball and an outstanding offensive line you had. If I came up in the box, now you have the ability to pass. It just, when you're able to run and pass and do things like that, and you got a smart quarterback that can read all those things. And that's the thing about you guys' team. You guys' teams were so smart, and you did a great job of communicating.
Well, I thank you for that. And I do think Coach Harbaugh is trying to get that same philosophy. And yes, we've got Justin Herbert. Yes, we're talented. We can throw the football. But you know what? If we're going to win, we're going to have times when we have to run the football. We have to be able to run it. And we got to be tougher than you are. And he is going to get that across to the team, no doubt in my mind. Well, I've got to ask you the most important question about the schedule, though. This is the number one question. When do you think the first time we're going to have to put on a big coat at the game?
Okay, so I'm going to go with I would say week 11, Coach, with the Jets. I think we're going to be fine. Well, Pittsburgh is week 7. I'll say week 11. Week 11. That's when we have to start getting prepared. A couple months into the season.
You said week 11. I'm thinking you're a lot tougher than I am. Week 9 in November in Philadelphia. I'll have a coat out. I don't know if you will. I will definitely have a coat on.
Well, I think Jacksonville is probably a little bit more concerned about the weather than we are. Okay.
I used to not worry about it all that much, but that Kansas City Miami game last year in Kansas City, that I still have memories of us being out there in the fourth quarter.
But you know what, Coach? It was fun, and we had a chance to see up close and personal how the weather truly affects teams in different capacities.
Yeah, and it did. We were out there, and all the Miami guys were running by us in pregame, no sleeves on. Oh, we're tough. It doesn't matter. And they went out there, and they couldn't make a tackle.
But I gotta go back to this. Our opening game, okay, not in the United States, but in Brazil. The Eagles and the Green Bay Packers. How excited are you, Coach, to go back to Brazil? I know you went there for the Olympics. And what are you looking for most in the game?
That is going to be fun. It's a great spot, and I'm excited about that. But I'm really fired. These are two really good teams that made some changes in their philosophy, changes on defense. And I want to see how that is going to play out. How do these defenses come out? They're going to be playing against dynamic offenses. And to me, that is the question on Philadelphia and Green Bay. Who can adjust more quickly to the new system, get their defensive players going, and get that defense to catch up with their offenses?
Coach, I had an opportunity to play in 3 international games. Back then it was called the American Bowl. I played in Germany, I played in Japan, and I played in Australia. And I tell you, those trips are fun trips because you get a chance to really bond with your teammates. You get a chance to know your coaches on a different level. And just being able to travel with each other, spending that time together, it really brings the team together and it bonds them. And that's why I love just the experience of being able to go and really, too, show our game, our wonderful game to the rest of the world. And that's the beauty of not only just playing football, but being able to bring it to others in different countries.
So do you think this game could be a plus for both of these teams? They're starting the season off that way and really taking that time to bond and come together on a long trip?
Oh, absolutely. Because you think about it, the Eagles, they have a lot to prove, and it starts with Jalen Hurts and it starts with their head coach. And when you get guys, like I said, taking those long trips, spending time, having honest conversations, spending time together, breaking bread, walking through the city, foreign places, and just seeing new things, it really opens up your mind and it makes you appreciate where you're at that time in your life. And I think it's tremendous to have two teams, two young quarterbacks that are outstanding. Jordan Love is kind of like a CJ Stroud to me. I mean, just so steady, can make all the throws, really smart, humble kid when you talk to him, and a serious kid. I mean, yes, he could put a smile on his face, but very serious. He takes his craft serious, and I'm just really excited about seeing Jalen Hurts bounce back and seeing Jordan Love take that next step.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.